She extended her hand and asked me to dance. I couldn't. I physically couldn't. But she smiled and said two words that changed my entire life. Says who? What happened on that dance floor made grown adults cry. What she did next made a room full of strangers stop and cry. Welcome to Voice of Granny. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. My name is Michael, and I want to tell you about the day my world fell apart. And then, about the day someone helped me put it back together in a way I never expected. Before I tell you about her, I need to tell you about me. About who I used to be. Because you see, understanding what I lost makes understanding what I found so much more powerful. I was 30 years old, and I thought I was unstoppable. You know that feeling when you're young and healthy and the whole world feels like it belongs to you? That was me. Every weekend, I'd be out hiking in the mountains outside Seattle, running marathons, kayaking in the Sound. I lived for the rush, for the feeling of pushing my body to its limits and beyond. My friends called me the machine because I never seemed to slow down. Work hard, play harder. That was my motto. I worked as a software engineer during the week, but my real life happened on the weekends. That's when I felt most alive. When I was moving, climbing, running, conquering the next challenge. I think deep down, I believed that staying in motion meant I was really living. That if I stopped, even for a moment, I might realize something was missing. So I never stopped. Not until the universe made me. It happened on a Sunday morning in June. Beautiful weather. Clear blue skies. Perfect conditions for rock climbing. I'd climbed that particular cliff face in the Cascades at least 20 times before. I knew every handhold, every tricky spot. I was confident. Maybe too confident. I was about halfway up, maybe 70 feet off the ground, when I heard a sound I'll never forget. A sharp crack, like a gunshot echoing through the mountains. The bolt I'd anchored to failed. Just gave way like it was nothing. And suddenly I was falling. They say your life flashes before your eyes in moments like that. But for me, there was just this strange, quiet clarity. A single thought. This is it. This is how it ends. I don't remember hitting the ground. That's probably a mercy. What I do remember is waking up in a hospital bed 4 days later. The room was too bright. Too white. The smell of antiseptic burned my nose. And there were tubes everywhere, machines beeping, and my parents sitting in chairs beside the bed with faces I'd never seen them make before. When the doctor came in, he was kind. But doctors have to deliver bad news all the time, don't they? They get used to it in a way that we never get used to hearing it. Michael, he said, pulling up a chair. You're lucky to be alive. The fall should have killed you. But I need to prepare you for what comes next. The impact damaged your spine. We did everything we could, but the paralysis is permanent. You're not going to walk again. Not going to walk again. 5 words that changed everything. 5 words that ended one life and started another. A life I didn't want. A life I didn't know how to live. The months that followed were the hardest of my life. And I'm not just talking about the physical therapy or learning how to navigate the world from a wheelchair. I'm talking about watching people change around me. Watching them struggle with how to act, what to say, how to be normal when nothing felt normal anymore. My hiking buddies. They stopped calling. Oh, they'd text sometimes. Hope you're doing okay, man. But the invitations dried up. The weekend adventures I'd built my whole identity around just continued without me. And I couldn't blame them, really. What was I going to do? Watch them climb from the ground. Dating became impossible. Women would be polite, sure. But I could see it in their eyes. That flicker of discomfort. That moment where they decided I was too much work, too complicated, too different from what they were looking for. Conversations that might have led somewhere just ended in awkward silences and excuses. I should get going. Early day tomorrow. It was nice meeting you, but I don't think this is going to work out. The worst part wasn't the rejection itself. It was the pity that came before it. The way people would smile too brightly, speak too slowly, treat me like I was fragile. Like the accident had broken my body and my mind and my spirit all at once. So I did what felt safe. I stopped trying. I stopped going out. I stopped hoping that anyone would see me the way they used to. As Michael. Just Michael. Not wheelchair Michael, or that guy who had the accident. For 2 years, I lived like a ghost. I went to work because I had to. I came home because there was nowhere else to go. My apartment became my entire world. 4 walls and a computer screen. I told myself I was fine, that I didn't need what other people had, that relationships and adventures and all those normal life things just weren't for me anymore. But loneliness? It's like a slow poison. It doesn't kill you all at once. It just takes little pieces of you, day after day, until you look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself. Until you can't remember the last time you laughed. Really laughed. Until you start to believe that maybe you don't matter anymore. That maybe the best parts of life are happening somewhere else, to someone else, and you're just here. Existing, but not really living. That's where my story should have ended. In that apartment. Alone. Forgotten. But it didn't. Because sometimes, when you've given up on everything, life sends you exactly what you need. Not what you expected. Not what you asked for. But what you need. And for me, what I needed came in the form of one night. One decision. And one woman who saw something in me that I'd forgotten was there. It was a Friday evening in March when everything changed. Rain was coming down hard in Seattle, the way it does when winter is finally letting go. I was sitting in my apartment, like I did most nights, scrolling through my phone without really seeing anything. Just killing time until it was late enough to go to sleep. Then I saw the email. An invitation to a charity fundraiser at the Four Seasons downtown. Some big event for children's hospitals. Fancy dinner, live music, silent auction. The kind of thing I used to ignore even before the accident because I was always too busy doing something more exciting. But something made me stop scrolling. Maybe it was the loneliness getting too heavy to carry. Maybe it was seeing another Friday night stretching out empty in front of me. Maybe I was just tired of hiding. I sat there staring at that invitation for probably 20 minutes. My mind spinning through all the reasons not to go. All the ways it could be uncomfortable or awkward or painful. But then a small voice in the back of my head whispered something I hadn't heard in a long time. What if you just tried? So I bought a ticket. Right there, before I could change my mind. $150 to walk into a room full of strangers who would probably avoid me all night. It felt like the stupidest decision I'd made in years. But I'd made it. And I couldn't take it back. The night of the event, I must have changed shirts 3 times. Put on a tie, took it off, put it back on. It's funny how you can forget how to do normal things when you stop doing them. How getting dressed up can feel foreign. Strange. Like putting on a costume of the person you used to be. The car service picked me up at 7. The driver was kind, helped me without making a big deal of it. We drove through downtown Seattle, past all the restaurants and bars where people were laughing and living their normal Friday nights. And I felt this weight in my chest. This voice saying, you can still turn back. You can still go home where it's safe. But I didn't turn back. I watched the city lights blur through the rain on the windows, and I let the car take me forward. The Four Seasons was everything I expected. Elegant. Expensive. Intimidating. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling like frozen fireworks. People in designer clothes moved through the lobby with the easy confidence of those who belong. And me? I was rolling through those doors feeling like an intruder. Like everyone could see that I didn't fit. The ballroom was even worse. Bigger than I imagined, filled with at least 200 people. The music was playing, soft jazz from a live band in the corner. Waiters moved smoothly between clusters of guests, carrying trays of champagne and appetizers. Everyone seemed to know everyone. Conversations flowed easily. Laughter rose and fell like waves. And then I entered. And I swear, it was like a ripple went through the room. Not obvious. Not dramatic. But I felt it. The way conversations paused for just a second. The way eyes found me and then quickly looked away. The way the easy flow of the evening suddenly had this uncomfortable obstacle in it. I tried. I really did. I approached a group of people discussing something about tech startups. My field. Something I knew about. The circle opened to let me in, and I started to say something about the Seattle startup scene. But the energy just died. Smiles became fixed. Nods became uncomfortable. And one by one, they found reasons to drift away. Excuse me, I need to refill my drink. Oh, I see someone I need to catch before they leave. Within 5 minutes, I was alone again. Standing at the edge of the crowd, watching life happen around me, but not to me. A server came over with champagne, speaking slowly and loudly. Would you like some champagne? Like my wheelchair somehow affected my hearing. I thanked him quietly and took a glass I didn't want. An older woman touched my shoulder as she passed. It's so wonderful that you came out tonight. So brave. Her smile was kind, but the words cut deeper than any insult could have. Brave. For just existing in public. For daring to take up space in a room where I clearly made people uncomfortable. I found myself near the dance floor, because of course I did. Because the universe has a sense of humor. The band was playing something slow and romantic. Couples were moving together, holding each other close, swaying to the music like they were the only two people in the world. And I watched them. I couldn't help it. Watching what I used to have. What I thought I'd lost forever. Not just the dancing itself, but the intimacy of it. The connection. The feeling of being chosen by someone. Of being wanted. That ache in my chest was worse than any physical pain. Worse than the fall. Worse than the surgery. Worse than all the months of recovery. Because physical pain eventually fades. But this feeling of being left behind while life continues without you, that never stops hurting. I was about to leave. Seriously considering just calling a car and going home to the safety of my empty apartment. This had been a mistake. A painful reminder of everything I didn't have anymore. Everything I would never have again. But then I saw her. She was sitting alone at a table across the room. While everyone else seemed focused on networking and being seen, she was just sitting there watching. Really watching. There was something different about her. Something I couldn't quite name. Her dress was simple but beautiful. Her hair was pulled back. And she had this calm presence, like she existed at a different pace than everyone else in that frantic, impressive room. And then she looked at me. Not a quick glance. Not an uncomfortable look away. She looked at me the way you look at someone you're curious about. Someone interesting. Someone you want to know. I couldn't remember the last time anyone had looked at me like that. Her name was Elena, but I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that she was standing up from her table. And she was walking toward me. Directly toward me. Not glancing around for an escape route. Not looking for someone else to talk to. Just walking straight in my direction with purpose. My heart started racing. That panic you feel when you're not sure what's about to happen, but you know it's going to be significant. I watched her move through the crowd, weaving between people, and my mind was spinning through possibilities. Maybe she was a doctor who wanted to ask about my injury. Maybe she worked for some disability organization and saw me as a potential donor. Maybe she felt sorry for me sitting alone, and this was an act of charity. I braced myself for pity, for awkwardness, for whatever uncomfortable conversation was about to happen. She stopped in front of my table. Up close, she was even more striking. Not in that polished, glamorous way like the other women at the event. Something warmer. More real. Her eyes were brown and kind, and when she smiled, it reached all the way up to those eyes. "You look like you're having about as much fun as I am," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "I'm Elena." That wasn't what I expected. No pity. No inspirational speech about courage. Just a simple observation and an introduction. "Michael," I managed to say. My voice came out rougher than I meant it to. "And yeah, this isn't really my scene." "Mine either," she said, and without asking permission, she pulled out the chair across from me and sat down. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like we were old friends meeting for coffee instead of strangers at a formal event. "I'm only here because my friend bought a table and guilt me into coming." "You?" "Similar story," I said. Except I guilt myself. Thought it was time to stop hiding in my apartment every weekend. She tilted her head, studying me with genuine interest. "And how's that working out?" "Honestly, it's been pretty awful until about 30 seconds ago." She laughed. Actually laughed. Not a polite, uncomfortable laugh. A real one. And something in my chest loosened just a little. "Want to know a secret?" She leaned forward like she was sharing something important. "Everyone in this room is pretending. Pretending they're having a great time. Pretending they care about whatever conversation they're having. Pretending they belong. You're just more honest about it than most." We started talking. Really talking. Not small talk about the weather or the event or Seattle traffic. She asked me questions nobody had asked in years. What did I love? What scared me? What did I dream about when I let myself dream? I found myself telling her things I hadn't said out loud to anyone. About how I used to love photography, but hadn't picked up my camera since the accident. About the way I still sometimes forgot about the wheelchair when I first woke up, how I'd start to get out of bed normally before reality crashed back in. About the loneliness that felt like drowning in slow motion. She didn't try to fix it. Didn't offer empty words about everything happening for a reason or God having a plan. She just listened. Really listened. The way you listen when someone's words actually matter to you. "I'm a nurse," she said when I asked what she did. "Pediatric ICU at Harborview. I work with kids who are fighting battles most adults couldn't handle. Cancer. Genetic conditions. Accidents worse than anything I can imagine. Her voice was soft but steady when she talked about her work. Those kids teach me something every single day. They teach me that strength isn't about your body. It's not about being able to walk or run or do all the things we think make us whole. Strength is showing up when you're scared. It's choosing to hope when hope feels impossible. It's being vulnerable enough to let people in even when you've been hurt. She told me about her younger brother, who had cerebral palsy. He uses a wheelchair too, she said simply. He's 25 now, works as a graphic designer, has a girlfriend who adores him, lives a full, beautiful life. But it took him years to believe he deserved that. Years to stop seeing his wheelchair as a prison and start seeing it as just part of who he is. I felt tears pricking at my eyes. How did he get there? To that place where he believed it. He met people who saw him completely. Not the wheelchair first. Not the limitation first. Just him. And slowly, he started to see himself that way too. The way she said it, the way she looked at me when she said it, I knew she wasn't just talking about her brother anymore. We must have talked for an hour. Maybe more. I lost track of time completely. The noise of the ballroom faded into background static. The discomfort of the evening melted away. For the first time in 2 years, I was just having a conversation with someone who made me feel seen. Not pitted. Not avoided. Just seen. The band started playing something slow and beautiful. Some classic song I couldn't quite place. Around us, couples began moving toward the dance floor. I watched them start to pair up, holding each other close, moving together in that intimate way that always made my chest ache. Elena followed my gaze. She watched the dancers for a moment, then looked back at me. And something in her expression changed. Became more determined. More sure. She stood up from her chair, smoothed down her dress, and extended her hand toward me. Dance with me, Michael. Time stopped. I stared at her outstretched hand like it was something I couldn't quite comprehend. Like she was offering me something impossible. I can't, I whispered. I can't dance anymore. Her smile didn't fade. If anything, it grew warmer. More certain. Says who? She asked. And that simple question changed everything. I've thought about that moment 1,000 times since it happened. That moment when Elena stood there with her hand extended, waiting for my answer. Waiting to see if I was brave enough to say yes to something that terrified me. The ballroom felt like it was holding its breath. I could feel eyes turning toward us. Conversations stopping mid-sentence. People noticing what was happening, wondering what I would do. How I would respond to this woman who was offering me something I thought I'd lost forever. My first instinct was to protect us both. To laugh it off. To make some joke that would let us move past this moment without the awkwardness and the stares and the inevitable disappointment when reality set back in. But Elena's eyes held me there. There was no pity in them. No charity. Just genuine invitation. Just possibility. I don't know how, I said. The words felt like admitting something shameful. Like confessing a weakness I'd been hiding. Neither do I, she replied. At least not like this. But maybe we can figure it out together. Maybe that's the point. She took my hands before I could think of another excuse. Her fingers were warm and steady, and I let her guide me toward the edge of the dance floor. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Louder than the music. Louder than the murmur of the crowd watching us. I expected her to try to make me stand, or to make some big show of working around my wheelchair. But she didn't do either of those things. Instead, Elena just started moving, swaying gently to the music, her hands in mine, her eyes never leaving my face. She moved around me, with me, creating something that wasn't traditional dancing, but was somehow more beautiful because of it. She showed me that dancing wasn't about legs or steps or following some prescribed pattern. It was about connection. About two people choosing to move through space and time together. About being present with another human being in a way that transcended physical limitations. I felt tears streaming down my face. Hot and unexpected. I didn't try to hide them or wipe them away. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't care who saw me cry. Because these weren't tears of sadness or shame. They were tears of relief. Of release. Of feeling something shift inside me that I thought was permanently broken. In that moment, I wasn't the guy in the wheelchair. I wasn't disabled or damaged or different. I was just Michael, dancing with a woman who saw me completely, who chose me, who was showing me that I was still worthy of this, of connection, of beauty, of being wanted. The most amazing things started to happen. Other people began joining us on the dance floor. Not in a pitying way. Not to make some statement, but because something about what we were doing touched them, moved them, reminded them of something true. An elderly couple came first, moving slowly together in their own adapted way. Then a younger pair. Then more. Each person dancing in their own style, their own rhythm, their own truth. The dance floor filled with people who were brave enough to show up authentically. To stop pretending. To just be human together. But I barely noticed them. All I could see was Elena. This incredible woman who had looked past my wheelchair, past my fear, past all the walls I'd built around myself, and seen something worth choosing. Worth dancing with. Worth knowing. She hadn't cured my paralysis. Hadn't made the wheelchair disappear. Hadn't magically solved any of my practical challenges. But she'd done something far more powerful. She'd reminded me that I was still whole. Still worthy. Still capable of creating beautiful moments. Still deserving of love and connection, and all the things I thought were behind me. The song was ending. The final notes fading. And the applause that followed wasn't just for us. It was for everyone who'd found the courage to join us. For the reminder that love and connection don't look just one way. For the proof that sometimes the most powerful moments come from the most unexpected places. Elena squeezed my hands gently as the music stopped. She was breathing a little heavier from moving, her cheeks flushed. She looked more beautiful than anyone I'd ever seen. "Thank you," I managed to say. 2 words that couldn't possibly contain everything I was feeling. Everything she'd just given me. "For what?" she asked, genuinely puzzled. "For seeing me," I said. "For choosing me. For showing me that I'm not invisible." She pulled her chair close to mine, close enough that our knees were almost touching. "Michael, you were never invisible. You were just hiding, waiting for someone brave enough to really look." We stayed at that event for another 2 hours. Talking, laughing, sharing stories and dreams and fears. She gave me her number before we left. Wrote it on a cocktail napkin because neither of us could find paper. I kept that napkin in my wallet for months afterward, until the numbers were faded and worn. But I didn't need it, because I'd already memorized it. Already decided that I was going to call her. Already started to believe that maybe my story wasn't over. Maybe it was just beginning in a way I never expected. As I rode home that night in the car service, rain still coming down outside, I realized something had shifted. The loneliness that had been crushing me for 2 years felt lighter. The future that had looked so empty suddenly had possibility in it. The walls I'd built around myself had cracks in them now. Letting light in. One dance. One woman. One choice to say yes instead of no. That's all it took to change everything. I called Elena the next day. I couldn't wait. Couldn't play it cool or follow whatever rules you're supposed to follow about not seeming too eager. I'd spent 2 years playing it safe, protecting myself, and where had it gotten me? Alone. Afraid. Half alive. So I called her, and she answered on the second ring. And we talked for 3 hours like we'd known each other for years instead of one night. That was 4 years ago. Elena and I got married 2 years ago in a small ceremony by the water. Just close friends and family. Nothing fancy. But it was perfect. It was us. People always ask me what changed. How I went from hiding in my apartment to building a life with someone. They want to know the secret. The magic formula. The moment when everything clicked into place. But here's the truth. Elena didn't fix me. She didn't cure my paralysis or make my challenges disappear. She didn't complete me like some fairy tale romance where the right person makes you whole. What Elena did was harder and more important than that. She saw me completely, exactly as I was, and chose to love me anyway. Not despite my wheelchair. Not because of some inspiration-porn narrative about overcoming obstacles. Just because of who I am. The whole complicated, messy, beautiful person. And in seeing myself through her eyes, I started to remember who I was beneath all the fear and shame I'd been carrying. I started to believe again that I had value. That I could contribute something to the world. That I deserved love and connection, and all the normal things I'd convinced myself were for other people but not for me. Our relationship isn't perfect. We argue about stupid things like whose turn it is to do dishes. We have hard days where the wheelchair creates legitimate challenges we have to navigate together. We face stares and comments and accessibility issues that frustrate both of us. But we face them together. And that makes all the difference. Elena still asks me to dance in our kitchen while dinner cooks. She'll turn on music and take my hands and we'll move together in our own way. Our own dance that belongs only to us. And every single time, I'm transported back to that ballroom. To that moment when she extended her hand, and I chose to say yes. She sees adventures where I see obstacles. She finds beauty in moments I might overlook. She pushes me to do things that scare me, to take up space in the world, to stop apologizing for existing. She reminds me, on the days when I forget, that my wheelchair doesn't define me. It's just one part of a much bigger story. But here's what I want you to understand. This story isn't just about finding romantic love. It's about the love that comes from being truly seen. From having someone look past all your defenses and your fears and your shame and recognize your humanity. Maybe for you, that person won't be a romantic partner. Maybe it'll be a friend who refuses to let you hide. A family member who sees your worth when you can't. A stranger at an event who takes a chance on connection. Or maybe most importantly, it'll be yourself. Learning to see your own value. To treat yourself with the kindness you deserve. Because the real transformation in my life didn't happen because Elena loved me. It happened because Elena's love taught me how to love myself again. To forgive myself for not being the person I used to be. To accept that I'm different now, and that different doesn't mean less than. To understand that my worth isn't determined by what my body can or can't do. I've started taking photographs again. Still landscapes, mostly. Views from places I can access. But I'm learning to see beauty from a new perspective. Literally. The world looks different from where I sit now. Sometimes that's hard. But sometimes it's beautiful in ways I never noticed before. I've made new friends. People who know me as I am now, not as I used to be. People who don't treat my wheelchair as the most interesting thing about me. We go to accessible hiking trails. We meet for coffee. We text stupid memes back and forth. Normal friend stuff. The stuff I thought I'd lost. I'm not going to lie to you and say everything is perfect now. That love solved all my problems. That I never have hard days or moments of grief for the life I used to have. Because I do. I still have moments where I watch someone run for the bus and feel that ache of loss. Where I see someone doing something physical and effortless and remember when my body could do that too. But those moments don't define my life anymore. They're just part of it. Part of the complicated reality of being human. Of living with loss while also living with hope. Of holding grief and joy at the same time. If you're reading this, maybe you're hiding too. Maybe you're convinced that the best parts of life are behind you or not meant for you. Maybe you've built walls so high that you can't remember what it feels like to let someone in. Maybe you're sitting alone somewhere right now, believing that nobody sees you. That nobody would choose you if they really knew you. I want you to know something. You're wrong. You are worthy of love, of connection, of being seen completely and chosen anyway. Your challenges, whatever they are, don't make you less than. They make you human. They make you real. And there are people in this world who are looking for real. The accident took my legs. But Elena gave me something more valuable. She gave me permission to be fully myself again. To stop hiding. To believe in possibility even when it seems impossible. Sometimes our greatest love stories begin with our greatest pain. Sometimes we have to lose everything to discover what really matters. Sometimes the dance we end up doing is nothing like the one we planned. But it can still be beautiful. It can still be enough. It can still be everything. Don't give up on your story. The best chapter might be just one dance away. All you have to do is say yes.